French Grand Prix was primarily built around Charles Leclerc's horror show, which pretty much put him out of contention for the F1 championship. Leclerc struggled with some of the team decisions, and then his aggressive mindset also cost him the chance to stay level with Red Bull's Max Verstappen. But there's a lot to unpack from the race, so let's get right to it. First up, Horner takes aim at Mercedes. Red Bull has been impeccable throughout the season, and that has led to their driver Max Verstappen defending his crown from the previous year. But this time around, he won't be the only one celebrating, because Red Bull's opened up a huge gap in the race for the Constructors' Championship and is set to win it, barring some unique mishap. Ferrari went toe-to-toe with Red Bull, but couldn't match the excellence of the team's decisions and Verstappen's consistency. All of this has led to Christian Horner, the Red Bull team boss, taking a swipe at Mercedes after this year's title battle with Ferrari. Now, Toto Wolff of Merc and Horner share a lot of history because of their intense rivalry, which reached a breaking point last year during their intense battles which went down to the final day. There was something to cheer for both of them, as Merc won the Constructors' Championship, but Verstappen broke Hamilton's dominance and ran off 4 titles in a row. Talking after the race, Horner said that this year there's been less as compared to the previous year's battles with Mercedes. This isn't surprising because both of them don't hold back and try to tear each other a new one whenever they're given the opportunity. With sweeping regulation changes brought in, Mercedes couldn't challenge for the title this year, and Horner believes that it's been a refreshing change. Of course, things do seem rosy when you're winning by such a huge margin. In fact, Horner also claimed that there's genuine respect between the drivers and teams during this year's rivalry, and believes that there hasn't been any politics and with what's going on off the track. Someone's clearly fed up with Wolff's mind games. Next up, Ferrari believes strategy was made to look nonsensical. It wasn't only the Leclerc incident which kept Ferrari out of the center of drama on Sunday. In fact, toward the end of the race, onlookers probably caught a whiff of Ferrari botching its strategy for Carlos Sainz, and anyone watching the race would automatically assume that the team wasn't sure about what to do. This apparent indecision brought a lot of Ferrari hate on Twitter from their fans. While Sainz managed to pass Perez for a podium position, his struggles with his medium tires lasting to the end were quite terrible to see. Sainz had requested to pit earlier, but Ferrari had denied his request, and then we could see that Ferrari had called their driver in the straightaway. That seemed quite strange, and considering how terrible Ferrari's decision-making has been throughout the year, it wouldn't have surprised anyone that they were yet again screwing everything up for their drivers. But this time around, their strategy director Iñaki Rueda has jumped to their defense and explained that the broadcasts and the delayed messages were making the decision look nonsensical, while in truth, it was under control. He added that the decision was made after talking to Sainz, who believed that he could have him after the lap. That's why he decided to stay on. Rueda explained that on the television, the call came on turn 15 after the pit entry, which isn't possible because they wouldn't give their driver that little time to react. This somewhat makes sense, even though Ferrari has been single-handedly sabotaging their chances of winning the championship. In fact, Rueda also explained how keeping Sainz out wasn't an option because of his 5-second penalty. Moving on to crash conspiracies. Now for the biggest story of the French Grand Prix, Leclerc's crash. The Monegasque crashed at one of the corners where Ferrari had been the strongest in terms of lap time gained, and it was more than strange to see the car go off from the middle of that particular turn. Then, of course, you must have heard his wounded "No!" when he realized his race was finished, and Leclerc went on to take the blame for the crash, but many big names in the sport believe that he wasn't at fault. We can't blame them for having that opinion, considering Ferrari's unreliability and indecisiveness throughout the races. Ralf Schumacher went as far as to say that Red Bull's greatest support has been Ferrari. Ouch. On the other hand, Nico Hülkenberg told Service TV that it was strange to see Leclerc take the blame and thought that the 24-year-old was protecting Ferrari. But the biggest conspiracy about the crash came from former world champion Nico Rosberg, who added that it was premature of Leclerc to take the blame. Wow, that's some strong support for the Ferrari driver, and well, not so much for Ferrari. Rosberg went on to add that he couldn't believe that Leclerc would have been at fault because he wasn't even pushing to the max and was saving the tires. He also criticized the engine and believes that the car was to blame rather than the man. And of course, Ferrari immediately dismissed this belief and explained how Leclerc's self-criticism wasn't in any way protecting the team. Sure, Mattia Binotto, the team principal, said that the incident was a genuine mistake of Charles, but went on to defend their driver by saying that he shouldn't be considered as someone who makes a lot of mistakes. But there's an extremely positive call imminent for French fans. Race promoter promoter Christian Estrossi has claimed that there's an extremely positive announcement expected very soon. While it was confirmed that this was the last race on Paul Ricard after its F1 contract expired, Estrossi's comment indicates that the French GP organizers believe that there's more to expect and racing will return to France in the future, even if it doesn't return to this very circuit. Estrossi added that he isn't resigned to losing the circuit and adds that there's some great news which will be revealed in the coming weeks regarding the future of France in the Grand Prix. It could be the case that another location in France might be getting added to the F1 calendar. After all, there are many circuits that could be dropping out for the 2023 calendar, with the Belgian Grand Prix also set to miss out. The fans shouldn't be entirely sad until then either. Monaco isn't too far off, and that remains on F1's agenda for the coming year, so maybe they can start booking their tickets for Charles Leclerc's home race, which hasn't exactly been kind to him so far. Maybe his luck changes too. And Seb's angry with teammate Stroll. Aston Martin teammates could have easily added to the drama with a potential explosive ending and did deliver a lot of action to wrap up the weekend in France. There was some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action with the Canadian finishing slightly ahead of Vettel and avoiding a potential rear end from the German. In fact, there was contact, but it was very light and didn't upset any car, with Stroll taking the last point position ahead of Vettel, and the German was extremely angry, believing that he'd been brake tested at the crucial moment and lost momentum because of that. A look at the telemetry data reveals that Vettel's comments were out of anger because Stroll didn't use the brakes twice, but rather applied them longer on the apex. The Canadian defended his performance and said that he didn't do anything reckless, and we reluctantly have to agree because who doesn't love Seb? We hope this incident doesn't contribute to Seb's decision of calling it a day after he revealed on his newly made Instagram account that he will be retiring at the end of the season. But we do wish him the best on his new adventures and are happy that he's taking a well-earned rest from the racing scene. Ending with Binotto's ambitious claim. In fact, ambitious seems to be a bit of an undersell, but we can understand where the Ferrari team boss is coming from. Mattia Binotto believes that despite the terrible French Grand Prix for Leclerc, there is still a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the remaining races, and has issued an ambitious claim and a potential warning to Red Bull. He thinks that Ferrari could easily be the leading team for the remainder of the season, and pace shown by the 24-year-old gives them a lot of hope. In fact, Binotto can't think of a reason why they can't win 10 races from now to the end. We can think of one. Ferrari has a terrible team, but who are we to argue against someone's optimism? If he thinks they can cut the 63-point gap between Leclerc and Verstappen, then we hope they go all out in doing so. We'll happily eat our words because all we want to see is an entertaining season in the F1, because God knows we're done watching one-sided seasons. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Leclerc was at fault during the French Grand Prix, or was it another bottle job from Ferrari? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.